John Reynolds was the kind of man who found solace in the mundane. A middle manager at a local manufacturing company, he was built from the fabric of stability, dependable, hardworking, and utterly trustworthy. He doted on his wife, Sarah, and their two children, a small family punctuating the cacophony of a bustling Chicago suburb. Mornings were a routine. He'd sip his coffee while answering work emails, the sunrise painting a picturesque portrait outside. For John, each day slotted neatly into the next, and trust formed the cornerstone of his family's existence. But beneath this veneer of domestic bliss lay a treacherous current, one that would soon transform his world into chaos. The first crack appeared in the facade while he was working late one Thursday evening. The office was quiet, illuminated by the glow from his computer screen, when he received a notification on his phone. A message from an unknown number flashed on the screen. "You should know your wife isn't who you think she is." He felt his stomach drop, a cold sweat prickling down his spine. This text was an invitation to an unsettling truth. Trying to keep an open mind, John did what most people would do when faced with doubt. He dismissed it, chalked it up to a prank. After all, Sarah was everything to him, his partner, the mother of his children. But he couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing just out of sight. That weekend, he noticed small changes. The subtle shifts in Sarah's demeanor, the late nights out with friends, and the lingering scent of unfamiliar cologne on her clothes. One night after a gathering at their home, John had glanced at Sarah's phone. An innocuous message had slipped through the cracks of his suspicion. A message filled with pet names and flirtation, the kind meant for a lover. It was as if the ground beneath him opened, steeping him into the abyss of despair. When he confronted her, Sarah's defensiveness was swift, her smiles turning to evasiveness, the lies tumbling from her lips in frantic whispers. "It's just a friend," she insisted. But the hurt in John's chest told another story. It wasn't until he followed Sarah one night, heart pounding with betrayal and confusion, that the truth smacked him in the face. He found her at a lavish hotel, the kind that glitters with the size of forgotten secrets. John's heart raced as he peered through a glass window. There, he saw Sarah wrapped in the arms of Eric, John's former best friend and colleague, a man he had trusted as tightly as he had trusted her. The tender way Sarah leaned against Eric, laughing at something he whispered, ignited a firestorm of rage within him. With the thudding in his chest overwhelming him, John confronted them. Slamming the door open, he stepped inside the dimly lit room, fury cascading like a torrent. The moments stretched painfully as Emily glanced up, her face shifting from shock to realization. John's voice thrummed with anger, a guttural growl that demanded an explanation. "What is this, Sarah? Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Eric's expression was nothing short of a deer in headlights, scrambling for dignity in the face of absolute destruction. Sarah's eyes darted between John and Eric, panic dancing in her gaze. "John, it's not what you think," she begged, feigning innocence while John's world crumbled around him. In the hours that followed, John made a choice. No more would he let others manipulate the narrative of his life. No more would he allow himself to be portrayed as the trusting fool. He would rise from the ashes of betrayal. Armed with the evidence of their deception, stealing a look at their text messages, snapping a few photographs, John's mind raced with plans of revenge. It wasn't just about dismantling their relationship, it was about securing his future, the future of their children. First, he shut off their joint accounts, freezing the funds Sarah had thought she could siphon off to cover her tracks and the man who now lay beside her in the dark. As the days turned to weeks, John methodically collected details of Sarah's infidelity, gathering email exchanges, and meticulously recording conversations he overheard. With every shred of evidence, a wave of unwavering resolve washed over him. He was done playing the role of the victim. He would return every blow they dealt him tenfold. At work, John began sowing the seeds of doubt about Eric's professionalism among their colleagues. He reached out to mutual friends, subtly steering conversations to reveal Eric's betrayal, coaxing them to question his integrity. As whispers spread through the fragile threads of their social fabric, he knew the moment would arrive when they would turn their backs on her, too. The day of reckoning came during a corporate gathering hosted in an opulent ballroom. John, confident and centered, leaned into the mic to address the crowd about a new project, his face a mask of composure. But when he locked eyes with Sarah and Eric standing in the back, he felt a shiver run down his spine. In front of everyone, he unveiled the truth of their deceit, blasting their betrayal across the polished hall. The gasps, hushed murmurs rippling through the audience seemed to echo the collapse of Sarah and Eric's world. Gazing into Sarah's panicked face, John felt a flicker of satisfaction. The thrill of vengeance coursed through him as he watched her unravel, the weight of her lies crashing down. "Guess you're not so good at keeping secrets after all," he hissed, dismissing them both as the crowd began to whisper their judgments. In that moment, he triumphed over them, his heart swelling with a sense of power he had never felt before. As the evening wore on, it became clear that his revenge was complete. Sarah's affair wasn't just a sin. It was now her public disgrace. The laughter that spilled from the crowd as they turned on Sarah and Eric reverberated in his mind as he tasted a bittersweet victory. He had become the master of his narrative, and it felt liberating. Now began the meticulous process of legal destruction. John hired a fierce attorney, aiming to strip Sarah of not just her infidelity, but of everything they had built together. The divorce he filed was not just a break of commitment, it was a war declaration, a refusal to allow their betrayal to define him. The legal battles commenced with a palpable tension that saturated the air. John sat across the conference table from Sarah's lawyer, a slick man with an arrogant smirk that did little to intimidate him. He had spent too many sleepless nights reconstructing how he'd been wronged. He wasn't about to let a polished code of arrogance deter him from reclaiming his dignity, nor his financial stability. "Let's be clear," John said, his voice steady. "This isn't going to be a mere divorce. I'm pursuing full custody of our kids and ensuring that she pays for what she's done." He studied the look on Sarah's face as the lawyer laid out the initial proposals. The initial offer was modest, shamefully skewed in Sarah's favor. But John held his ground. He had no intention of letting their betrayal go unpunished. Days turned into weeks, and with each meeting, John's resolve strengthened. He gathered more evidence, documenting Sarah's actions meticulously. Dates of late nights, receipts from hotel stays, and incendiary text exchanges with Eric. He understood that if he wanted to break her financially, he needed to weaponize their shared history against them. In a turn of the cards, John came to learn that Sarah had been spending an exorbitant amount on unnecessary personal luxuries, all while claiming to be the dutiful mother juggling a harried life. The bills piled up: spa treatments, fashion purchases, dinners, expensive dates with Eric while their children waited at home. Armed with this knowledge, he brought her spending habits into their legal proceedings, presenting cold, hard evidence demonstrating her betrayal on all fronts. Not just the emotional, but the financial, too. The courtroom became the stage for their unraveling. Every dodged question from Sarah aimed to distract from the glaring truth only led to her further entrapment. When John's attorney displayed screenshots of Sarah's extravagant spending, contrasted against John's meticulous contributions to their household, gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge, a sharp-eyed woman who clearly had little patience for dishonesty, focused on Sarah's financial misconduct as John looked on, satisfaction simmering in his chest. With every hearing, the tables shifted further in John's favor. He watched as Sarah's bravado faded, her supportive network crumbling as their peers learned of her treachery. Friends began to distance themselves, favoring John's steadfast image of a wronged husband over Sarah's shattered reputation and her poor choices. The whispers turned into a deafening roar of condemnation, and for every sympathetic glance sent John's way, another piece of Sarah's world tumbled down. But it was the moment in the courtroom that John had been waiting for, the grand finale. On that fateful day, he stood poised, ready to deliver a knockout punch. Sarah was called to the stand, a ghost of her former self, and as she sat down, he could see the cracks in her composure. He leaned forward, emotion simmering beneath his otherwise calm demeanor. "Sarah," he began, his tone deceptively soft, "can you explain why you felt it was acceptable to take money meant for our children and spend it on your affair?" The daggers in his eyes pierced through the air, and all breath seemed to leave the room. The once vibrant woman who had laughed and turned heads now withered under the scornful scrutiny of the judge, jury, and witnesses. Her teary eyes flitted around, desperately seeking an escape, but finding none. I needed to feel alive," she babbled, tears spilling, tattered defenses collapsing. "I thought you didn't love me anymore." "But you chose to seek love in the arms of my best friend," John shot back, leaning closer as if willing to share in the weight of her shame. "That's not just a betrayal of our marriage. It's a betrayal of our family. You've jeopardized everything." When John's attorney introduced evidence of Sarah and Eric's splurging on opulent dinners and luxury trips, a soft murmur spread through those gathered in the courtroom, a collective judgment that settled like ash. Sarah's attempts to deflect blame were met with silence, revealing the gravity of her decisions. The tension in the room thickened as her words twisted into a confused tangle, and each minute felt like an eternity, punctuated only by the furious tapping of John's fingers on his evidence folders. When the judge finally spoke, her voice was devoid of sympathy. "Given the evidence, it's clear that the petitioner has filed for a divorce, not just on grounds of marital infidelity, but also for financial impropriety. The court will consider full custody based on your reckless choices." That announcement targeted Sarah like a bullet, leaving her actions exposed and her integrity stripped bare. John could taste victory, the sweet, sharp tang of vindication washing over him at the unfolding devastation around her. Days passed as the trials continued, creating rifts in Sarah's once carefully constructed support systems. Eric quickly found himself distanced not just from John, but from his own social circles, as the truth of his indiscretions dawned on friends who once admired him. The very same people who once congratulated him on his success became disillusioned, leaving him abandoned and alone, his financial security collapsing alongside Sarah's. Meanwhile, John devoted himself to his children, pouring all his energies into being a present father. Weekends were filled with laughter, family bike rides, and evenings at the local park. Slowly but surely, he was reinventing not only his life, but that of his children, who were free from the toxic shadows their mother had cast upon them. As John settled into the new rhythms of his redefined life, he received a call that would mark the climax of his searing journey of pain and transformation. Sarah reached out, her voice quivering with desperation. "John, I messed up. Please, let's talk. I can change. I'll prove it to you." As he listened to her raw plea, John felt no rush of nostalgia, no pang of longing for the past. Instead, he was struck by the realization that he had moved on. The din of her past deception echoed around them, muffled under the weight of his hard-fought independence. "You'd do well to understand the consequences of your actions, Sarah. I won't be that fool again," he said, pausing deliberately to savor her despair, letting his words limber into a cold finality. "There's no place in my life for your regrets." Her silence on the other end of the line was deafening, punctuating the fracture that now defined their relationship. The tides of retribution had marked her, a punishment she longed to flee but could never escape. When they stood face to face again for their final divorce hearing, a sense of triumph radiated through John's very being. Sarah sat slumped, a shadow of her former self, and the court's atmosphere was charged with his resolve. He had fought tooth and nail to sever ties with her, not merely emotionally but financially, ensuring every asset reflected the choices she made. When the gavel fell for the last time, marking the end of a long and grueling journey, John's heart was buoyant. He walked away from the courtroom not as a victim of betrayal, but as a conqueror, having reclaimed his dignity. It was not just about winning the battle, but affirming that some wounds, would remain raw, a painful reminder to those who had dared to deceive. John stepped outside, inhaling deeply. The sun pierced through the drab clouds above as he looked ahead to the horizon, free and empowered, knowing he was finally unshackled from the ties of betrayal. Life, after all, was about reclaiming one's strength and redefining the narrative, his narrative, a story now brimming with hope and self-respect, no longer tethered by the ghosts of the past. In the weeks following the finalization of the divorce, John embraced the new chapter of his life with fervor. He filled his home with laughter, the joyful chaos of his children bringing warmth back into spaces that once felt overwhelmingly heavy. Each day they engaged in simple pleasures, board games on rainy afternoons, movie nights wrapped in blankets, and weekend outings at the zoo or parks. John reveled in this fresh, uncomplicated love, a stark contrast to what had become the toxic environment caused by Sarah's betrayal. Yet beneath the surface of this newfound happiness lay a simmering urge for justice that still thrummed in John's veins. The shadows of Sarah's deceit remained etched deeply in his mind. Every late night, every secretive phone call haunted him as if they were etched into the very walls of their home. Though the divorce marked the end of their marriage, it had ignited a fire in John, a commitment to ensure that she never inflicted the same pain on another person again. It was through his newfound resolve that John began to channel his energies into a project aimed at supporting others facing similar situations. He founded a community support group for individuals affected by infidelity and betrayal. The aim was clear: to create a safe haven where people could share their stories, gather strength, and find paths to healing. As he organized the inaugural meeting, John felt both nervous and invigorated, ready to bring about meaningful change. On the night of the first gathering, John set up chairs in a modest community center, the space buzzing with the palpable energy of hesitant souls seeking solace. One by one, people trickled in, faces etched with pain familiar to John's own. Some wore the shadows of rejection. Others bore scars of shattered trust. Each story shared was unique, yet echoed similar themes of betrayal and recovery. John listened intently, actively engaging each participant in the discussions, offering insights rooted in his own experiences. A sense of camaraderie formed among them. They began to lean on each other, sharing advice and building strategies to deal with the complexity of moving forward. Trusting someone again feels impossible, one woman confessed, her voice trembling. How do you learn to trust again after being deceived? John took a deep breath, mindful of how the question resonated in his own heart. Trust is rebuilt slowly, like a bridge. You construct it from solid, reinforced materials, open communication, time, and honesty. It starts with boundaries. Once you learn the importance of those, the risk of opening your heart doesn't feel like a leap into an abyss anymore. Each week, attendance grew. The group evolved into a support system where they could laugh, cry, and heal together. John found himself surrounded by a community brimming with resilience, each person picking up the scattered pieces of their lives and stitching them back together one moment at a time. Amidst this environment of healing, John found himself growing closer to one of the members, a woman named Lisa. She was vibrant and thoughtful, possessing a gentle wisdom that stemmed from her own painful past. Over shared stories and laughter, John felt himself drawn to her, their connection deepening as they navigated the complexities of their respective journeys. With each group meeting, the emotional barricades John had built began to fade. Conversations that once centered around the raw ache of betrayal transformed into joyous discussions about the potential of new beginnings. It was a gradual process, but with Lisa, he found a companion who understood the labyrinth of pain and path to recovery that they both walked. She smiled easily, encouraging him to see beauty in life beyond the darkness he had endured. One evening, after a particularly poignant session about healing, they found themselves lingering in the parking lot. The sky was painted in hues of twilight, casting everything in an ethereal glow. John's heart raced as he sensed the shift in their shared silence, an unspoken leap waiting just beneath the surface. "Do you think we'll ever fully heal?" Lisa's voice, tinged with vulnerability, pierced through the moment, leaving John pondering how deeply he wanted to venture into this new territory. "I think we'll heal in time," John replied, looking into her eyes, searching for courage. "But healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning from the scars." He took a step closer, encouraged by the way she met his gaze with a soft smile, a silent acknowledgement of their journey together. Moments floated between them, suspended in delicate anticipation, until the barrier was crossed. With a tentative touch, he grasped her hand, feeling the warmth and comfort wrought from shared experiences, both painful and uplifting. As weeks rolled into months, their bond flourished beyond the support group, evolving into something fragrant and lovely. They discovered quaint coffee shops, parks filled with blooming flowers, and movie nights fraught with excitement and laughter. Each moment was precious, illuminating a future that felt possible, a future based not on the scars of betrayal, but on the promise of new beginnings. Then came a moment that transformed everything for John, a moment that came crashing down with dramatic intensity. Sitting around the dinner table one evening with their children, laughter erupted when John shared an old anecdote, causing him, Lisa, and the kids to dissolve into joyous uproar. The atmosphere brimmed with lightness, until a sudden message flashed across John's phone, a number he recognized all too well. It was Sarah. His heart sank as he hesitated, the laughter around him fading to a tense silence. Ignoring the call, he felt layers of conflict ricochet through him. The past clung stubbornly, like an old wound. John finished dinner, yet the vibration of his phone only grew louder in the backdrop of his distracted mind. Later that evening, as Lisa and the kids settled in to watch a movie, John excused himself to the other room. Rubbing his temples, he picked up his phone and replayed the message in his mind like a broken record. Something about the urgency in Sarah's repeated calls gnawed at him, a primal instinct urging him to find clarity. John finally decided to return the call, not knowing what to expect. When he heard Sarah's voice, it dipped with an unnatural blend of desperation and vulnerability, emotions that felt foreign in their relationship. "John, I need to talk to you. Please, can we meet? I know I made terrible mistakes." He swallowed hard, the air thick with the bitterness of their shared history. "Why should I even consider it? What could you possibly say that can change anything between us? I messed up. I'm sorry for everything. I need to see you." "It's important," Sarah continued, her voice shaking as if she were on the edge of an emotional precipice. "No, Sarah, you don't get to walk back into my life anytime you please," John shot back, anger and pain surging to the forefront. "You've burned that bridge with your actions, and I won't let you reopen wounds that are finally healing." "I know I did wrong," she insisted, her voice cracking. "I lost everything, John. I lost my family, my friends. Everyone turned against me. I'm alone, and I don't know how to pick up the pieces. Please, I just want a chance to explain." John felt a surge of resentment. He had spent too long reconstructing the life she had shattered. "You had your chance, and you squandered it. You broke everything we built. I won't allow you to hurt me or my children again." As he hung up, John felt a deep rage mixing with a strange pang of sympathy, but smothered by resentment. He had moved on, carved out a life born not from dependence on anyone, but from the ashes of his resilience. What Sarah wanted from him was as inconceivable as asking fire not to burn. Heart pounding, John returned to the living room where laughter and warmth encapsulated him. Lisa looked up with gentle curiosity, a supportive smile blooming on her face. She could see the tension etched across his brow and intuitively reached for his hand, squeezing it firmly. "What's wrong?" she asked softly, her concern palpable. In a moment of vulnerability, John revealed the call, the turmoil echoing in his chest. He expressed his frustrations while leaning on Lisa's understanding presence. "You took your power back, John. Don't let her steal it again, Lisa encouraged, her eyes connecting with his. An intense flicker of understanding reflected between them. You deserve this new chapter. Leave behind the weight of the past. John inhaled deeply, rediscovering a surge of clarity. He was no longer a passive observer in his story. This newfound strength propelled him toward a future filled with love, support, and a sense of belonging. In that warm glow of the living room, where laughter and joy enveloped them, John whispered his silent promise to himself. He would reclaim his narrative, ensuring the past would remain just that, a chapter closed, a painful but instructive lesson learned. As the movie played on, John's heart swelled with a resolve to harness his experiences as he carved out a bright, free future, built on survival, resilience, and burgeoning love. The past had no hold on him now. Instead, he would press forward with purpose and intention, ready to embrace what lay ahead with open arms. As time passed, John's life blossomed into an intricately woven tapestry of compassion and resilience. Each day with Lisa and the kids deepened the connections they forged as he gradually integrated her into the fabric of their lives. The laughter echoed through their home, as familiar as the rhythms of the seasons changing. Together, they created cherished rituals: Saturday morning pancakes emblazoned with playful faces, spontaneous ice cream runs, and long walks in the nearby park where the children chased fireflies at dusk. Yet even amidst the warmth and joy, the specter of Sarah occasionally flickered in John's mind, reminders of the pain and betrayal that marked his past. He resolved to ensure it wouldn't resurface, neither in his life nor in the lives of his children. He took comfort in the realization that they were building something genuine and wholesome, free from the burdens of the past. One evening, as John and Lisa prepared dinner together, the conversation turned toward their future. Lisa, leaning casually against the counter, looked up with a spark of curiosity. I've been thinking, maybe we could consider blending our families more officially. The kids seem to get along famously. The idea stirred affection in John's heart. The prospect of further entwining their lives filled him with excitement. I would love that, he admitted, setting down the onions he was chopping. They're so happy when they're together. I can see how much they enjoy each other's company. But as the conversation grew, a shadow slipped into John's mind like an unwelcome guest. He thought of Sarah, the children's mother, and the tangled web of her ongoing chaos. The aftershocks of her decisions could still ripple through their lives, and he was determined to confront any obstacles that might arise. We should talk to the kids about it, he suggested, anxiety curling in his stomach. I want to make sure they feel comfortable with everything as we move forward. As they ventured deeper into the conversation, John's excitement soon mingled with fresh concerns. They decided to set aside a weekend for a family gathering where they could introduce the idea to the children in a relaxed and loving environment. That Saturday arrived, the sun shining brightly as they prepared for the gathering in the backyard. The scent of grilled burgers wafted through the air, mixing with the sounds of his children's laughter. His heart swelled at the laughter, lost in the chaos of games and playful banter. Lisa and John exchanged knowing smiles, their faces illuminated with joy as they watched the kids bond effortlessly. But even amidst this serenity, John couldn't completely shake off the feeling of uncertainty that loomed in his mind. The specter of Sarah and her unpredictable behavior remained, casting shadows that threatened to disrupt the sense of peace they had created. He wanted desperately to shield his children from any potential fallout, but he also understood that the prospect of blending their families might stir uncomfortable emotions and old wounds. As the afternoon wore on, with the sun casting a golden glow across the yard, John gathered everyone around the picnic table for a family discussion. The kids, giddy from laughter and excitement, settled down, chattering and sharing stories, oblivious to the gravity of what was about to be discussed. Okay, everybody, John began, his voice firm yet gentle. I know we've had a lot of fun today, but I wanted to talk about something important. He glanced at Lisa, who nodded in encouragement, her eyes encouraging him to continue. Lisa and I have been talking about how well you all get along and how much joy it brings us to see you happy together. We think it might be a good idea to explore the possibility of blending our families more officially, he explained, watching as the children's expressions shifted from curiosity to cautious contemplation. What does that mean? His son, Max, asked, tilting his head in confusion. It means, I would like it if Lisa was part of our family, and if you all treated each other like brothers and sisters, John clarified, feeling the atmosphere grow heavier with the weight of their words. Maya, John's daughter, chimed in quietly, But what about Mom? Her voice carried the innocence of a child still trying to navigate the complexities of family dynamics. A heavy silence fell over the group as the question echoed through the air. John's heart raced. He had anticipated this moment, yet the emotional web it weaved was tangled and painful. Your mom loves you very much, and we want to make sure you feel happy and safe, he reassured them. But we can't ignore what's happened in the past. She has made some choices that have hurt our family, and it's important for us to focus on the here and now. The family we're building together. Lisa, sitting close by, leaned towards the kids, her voice warm and supportive. You don't have to forget your mom, nor do you have to choose who you love. You can have a relationship with her, but we also want you to feel secure and happy. It's about filling your life with love in many different ways. The initial apprehension morphed into a contemplative silence as the weight of their words settled over the group. John could see mixed emotions etched on the children's faces, confusion, curiosity, and a mere flicker of excitement tangled with uncertainty. Max regained his composure first, looking between John and Lisa. So, it's okay if we have two families? He asked earnestly. Yes, John affirmed, relieved to see the glimmer of understanding in his son's eyes. Exactly. Families can be different, and what matters is that we love and support each other as best we can. As the conversation progressed, John felt a sense of relief and warmth wash over him. The kids slowly started to process the idea, questioning, giggling, and even offering up their own thoughts on what it might be like to have two sets of traditions. They suggested playful ideas like double holiday celebrations, bi-weekly game nights, and even vacations where they would all work together as one big family. The afternoon remained lighthearted, filled with animated discussions and laughter as the children slowly embraced the concept of blending their lives together. John and Lisa exchanged glances, gratitude swelling in their chests for the opportunity to forge new beginnings and share love among everyone involved. However, lurking in the backdrop was still the shadow of Sarah, the possibility that her erratic behavior could resurface at any moment. John's instincts ticked uneasily, guarding himself against the unpredictable future. That night, long after the children settled in, John found himself unable to sleep. He lay awake in his bed, contemplating the delicate balance of their newfound lives. Closing his eyes, he wrestled with nagging fears that flared in his mind. Would Sarah respond to this blending of families with grace, or would her insecurity erupt in spiteful disruptions? Just as sleep began to wrap him in its arms, a sudden thought struck him. What if he took proactive steps to address the tensions that lay ahead? He envisioned reaching out to Sarah, not with a plea for reconciliation, but to set clear boundaries regarding their children's lives. He needed to create a foundation built on respect, ensuring that their children remained the priority amid the chaos of emotions. The next morning, John made the call. The weight of uncertainty rested heavily on his shoulders as he arranged to meet with Sarah at a neutral location, a coffee shop, where they could discuss the children in a civil manner. His heart raced in anticipation of the confrontation that lay ahead, tempered only by the hope of clarity and resolution. When the day arrived, John found himself seated at a corner table, sipping coffee, and watching as the door swung open. Sarah entered, her expression a mix of determination and resignation. She took a seat opposite him, the tension palpable between them. Thanks for coming, John began, trying to keep his voice steady. I want to talk about the kids and what the future holds. Sarah nodded, masking the turmoil beneath her surface. I've been thinking a lot about my role and how I fit into their lives now, she admitted, her tone hesitant yet sincere. "I know I've made mistakes, and I regret how I've hurt all of you." Her admission struck a chord within him. Suspicion and caution were valid, but where vulnerability could serve, perhaps a conversation could be unveiled. "I want you to be part of their lives, but it requires trust. I need to know I can depend on you to put their well-being first." Sarah's eyes shimmered with an array of intentions, an eagerness for redemption mingled with shadows of her past. "I'll work on rebuilding that trust, I promise. I want them to be happy, and I want to be part of their lives again," she said, a tremor in her voice. John nodded, feeling a flicker of cautious optimism awaken in him. "Let's take it slowly. I think it's important we agree on boundaries. The kids deserve stability, and I hope you understand that." As they began to establish ground rules for communication and involvement, it became clear that the journey ahead wouldn't be linear. The conversation was just the beginning, a tentative step toward navigating the complexities of their co-parenting relationship. With each boundary drawn, however, John felt a renewed sense of purpose. He understood that healing wouldn't come easy, nor would it unfold without setbacks, but securing the family he treasured was worth the effort. That day marked not only a pivotal moment for John and Sarah, but illustrated an unyielding truth. Healing could occur even among fractures, and love could fill the spaces left by previous wounds. Together, John and Lisa bravely faced the challenges of blending their families, determined to shape a future full of laughter, love, and the lessons they had gleaned from their pasts. Building anew, they turned their gaze forward, ready to confront whatever came next, their hearts anchored by the love they had forged together. The weeks that followed that pivotal meeting with Sarah settled into a tenuous rhythm. John and Lisa embraced the challenge of blending their families, working hard to create an environment steeped in love and respect, while also navigating the unpredictable terrain of co-parenting with Sarah. Within their household, John and Lisa introduced new routines that honored both families. They blended traditions during holidays, celebrating Thanksgiving with a fusion of both families' recipes, and Christmas filled with laughter and spirited games. The children thrived in this harmony. Their laughter echoed through the walls, painting their home with light and positivity. As Sarah began attending scheduled activities for the kids, John took note of her sincere attempts to strengthen her relationship with them. He marveled at her efforts, observing as she engaged in conversations with their children, working diligently to create memories filled with joy and love. Yet beneath John's grateful heart also lay his natural caution and wariness. He felt like a tightrope walker, bouncing between progress and the potential for missteps. One humid afternoon, as they prepared for Maya's 8th birthday party, excitement filled the air like a sparkler's flare in the dark. Friends from school were invited, cupcakes adorned the table, and vibrant banners filled the backyard. Everywhere, there was laughter, energy, and vibrancy, a pristine representation of the blended family they had worked hard to create. John absorbed the scene with deep satisfaction, his heart swelling as he watched the children play games together. Lisa stood nearby, her infectious smile radiating warmth as she helped Maya manage the festivities. In those moments, the bond between their families felt solid, reinforced by sincerity and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. But John sensed the buzzing of uncertainty in the back of his mind. Despite Sarah's recent efforts, the specter of past betrayal loomed ominously just off stage, ever important yet lurking in the shadows. He couldn't shake the worry that, at any moment, a storm might erupt, jeopardizing the delicate peace they had cultivated. As the party unfolded, John caught sight of Sarah through the crowd, hovering at the fringes, her presence a reminder of looming questions. Although she was engaged with some of the other parents, he saw her occasionally glance toward John and Lisa, uncertainty shadowing her features. Despite wanting to believe Sarah had truly changed, a flicker of caution accompanied the flickering flame of hope in his heart. Once the festivities concluded, the kids scampered off to partake in cake. Sarah, emboldened by the moment, ambled toward John. "Looks like today was a success," she said, her smile genuine, yet tinged with something unspoken. Yeah, they had a great time, John replied, wary yet polite. Thank you for coming and for trying. It means a lot to them. I've been thinking, Sarah continued, her brow knitting together as she searched for words. I want to take them for a day out next weekend. A fun day, just us, at the zoo or something they'd love. The request sent an unexpected jolt through John. Just you? He asked, surprised. What about Lisa? We discussed wanting to integrate better, for blending our families. I know, and I appreciate how things are moving forward with you and Lisa. But I think having a one-on-one day might help rebuild the bond with the kids more personally, Sarah insisted, her tone pleading. John hesitated, balancing concern against the desire to let go and allow the kids to embrace both parents. I understand why you want that, but can we include Lisa in the planning? I want to be sure the kids feel secure with both of us. Sarah's expression faltered slightly, a mix of determination and vulnerability. I think it's important for them to know they can still have a strong relationship with me without any tension surrounding Lisa. I don't want them to feel torn. His heart ached with the complexities of it all. He appreciated her intentions, but worried how it might affect their budding relationships. Okay, let's talk about it more, he replied cautiously. As the initial storm of emotion subsided, John sensed an opportunity to confront those lurking worries. But remember, if you want to build trust with them, consistency is key. I want to be clear that I need to know everything will be okay. Sarah nodded, her expression shifting toward understanding. She promised to communicate openly and began making plans, though John's heart tugged with hesitation. That following week, tensions swirled as John spoke to Lisa about Sarah's proposal. They sat on the couch, the flickering glow of the TV illuminating their conversation. I realize she's trying, but the idea of taking them alone still makes me feel uneasy, John admitted, his voice laced with concern. Lisa reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. I appreciate you betting on her efforts. She is trying, and it might actually help strengthen that bond you all want. But I understand your hesitation. Would it be possible to suggest we all go at first? Maybe then you could let her take them later? John nodded, grateful for Lisa's perspective, her steady support grounding him amid the swirl of emotions. That's a good idea. I think it would set the right tone for Sarah's intent as well. As the planned outing approached, John crafted a message to Sarah that succinctly expressed their shared proposal. Let's make the first trip a family day. I want to make sure the kids feel confident and secure. When Sarah responded enthusiastically, agreeing to the plan, John breathed a sigh of relief, optimism warming his heart. For the first time, he truly began to believe that they could coordinate in a way that would nurture the children's well-being and trust. Finally, the day of the zoo excursion arrived, excitement palpable as the sun bathed everything in golden light. As they arrived, John's heart raced, anticipation mingling with underlying anxiety. Would it be smooth sailing, or would old tensions bubble to the surface? The outing started well. The children were wide-eyed with wonder as they marveled at elephants and gorillas. John felt a renewed sense of connection, surrounded by laughter and love. Sarah engaged with the kids, asking them about their favorite exhibits, and John caught glimpses of genuine affection in her interactions. It felt like a fragile piece, yet a significant moment nonetheless. At lunch, as they gathered around a picnic table, John gazed around at the faces he loved, feeling the warmth radiating throughout the group. Just as he lowered his guard, a sudden turn of events sent the day spiraling. A heavily tattooed man who'd been watching them closely approached their table. "Hey, Sarah," he called, his tone casual yet edged with something unsettling. "Been a while since we hung out, huh?" John's heart plummeted. Recognition flashed through him. This man was an old acquaintance of Sarah, a figure from her past that John did not trust, indicative of the reckless choices she had made before. Sarah's demeanor stiffened, anxiety flickering in her eyes. "Not now, Jason. It's not a good time," she replied, her voice a mix of urgency and embarrassment. John's instincts flared. The sense of unease transformed into a desire to protect his children immediately. "Sarah, who is this guy?" he questioned, standing to put distance between the man and his children, who were oblivious to the tension unfolding. A wave of panic surged through Sarah's face as Jason continued, "Come on, I just wanted to say hi. You know I've missed our good times." "Why are you even here?" John snapped, his protective instincts boiling over. "Just leave us alone." The laughter surrounding them fell silent, the atmosphere charged with growing tension as the kids stared wide-eyed, puzzled by the scene unfolding before them. "Relax, man." "I'm just being friendly," Jason replied with an unsettling smirk. With his heart hammering in his chest, John pivoted toward Sarah, demanding answers. "Is this who you meant by patching things up? He's not just a blast from the past. He's dangerous." Sarah's face paled, her voice trembling. "No, I had no idea he'd show up here. This isn't how I wanted today to go. I've been trying to change. Please don't ruin this. He doesn't mean any harm." "Get the kids," John said calmly, urgency pouring from him. "We need to leave." The harmony they had built collapsed under the weight of that encounter, leaving chaos and confusion ringing in the air. Trying desperately to maintain her composure, Sarah turned to the kids, prompting them to gather their things, while John kept his eyes locked on Jason, ensuring he wouldn't advance any further. As they began to walk away, John felt an overwhelming rush of emotion: sadness, anger, fear, but mostly concern for the kids. The day had been intended to fuse their families, to help heal the rifts created by betrayal, and yet they were now faced with shadows of Sarah's past. As they piled into the car, John felt a wave of conflicting emotions wash over him. He had worried the day might have brought chaos, but he never anticipated the living nightmare manifesting right in front of them. While driving home, Sarah sat in the back seat, her frame tense yet vulnerable. She met John's gaze in the rearview mirror, her voice trembling with emotion. "I'm so sorry. I didn't see him before, I promise. I wish I had, but he's not part of my life anymore." "Clearly he is," John retorted, his voice tight. "What was that about, Sarah?" "You need to understand that for my children's sake, I can't let that chaos seep into our lives again." Silence stretched as Sarah grappled with the weight of the confrontation, while John struggled with the painful memories rising around them, the wounds existing between the veins of their past, colliding with a fragile present. "I'm done with that life," Sarah insisted, tears spilling down her cheeks as she felt the desperation of the situation. "I can't lose this chance. I'm trying, John. Please just give me a chance." He exhaled deeply, feeling an avalanche of emotions swirling in his chest, remorse and frustration battling. "You need to be honest with me. This is about our children now. It can't just be about you." Finally, he pulled into the driveway, breaking the heavy bond of tension. He turned to Sarah, his voice calmer now yet resolute. "It's going to take time and trust to rebuild what you broke, and I can't have any remnants of that past lurking around." John's heart sank as the weight of their struggles settled in. The delicate thread of hope that had woven their lives together hung by a thread, vulnerable to the storms of their past. But as he caught a glimpse of Maya and Max in the rearview mirror, innocence etched on their faces, he knew that moving forward meant setting the boundaries that would protect their newfound family. They all got out of the car, stepping into the cool evening air, determination wrapping around John like a protective cloak. It was a battle that wouldn't be lost gracefully. With each passing day, he crafted more space for resilience to nurture and guard what mattered most. In that moment, John understood. They were all refusing to allow the ghosts of their past to undermine the present. Together, fortified by love and courage, they would continue to seek brighter tomorrows, stronger for each hurdle surmounted. The resolve hinted that healing was not absent, rather waiting to emerge as they journeyed forward. In the days that followed the encounter at the zoo, John felt burdened by uncertainty. Each morning he woke with a knot in his stomach, the shadows of the past looming over their new family dynamics. Despite Sarah's promises and efforts, he struggled to reconcile her emerging vulnerabilities with the chaotic specter of her past, particularly in light of the unsettling encounter with Jason. To help ease his anxiety, John decided to reach out to Sarah before their next scheduled co-parenting meeting. He figured they needed to confront the realities of their circumstances head-on, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. Tired of tiptoeing around the issue, he dropped her a message proposing they meet at their usual spot, a small cafe known for its strong coffee and warm atmosphere. He hoped this setting would encourage an honest conversation without the pressures of being directly in front of their children. On the designated day, John arrived early, nursing his coffee, as he studied the bustling cafe. At first, the familiar sound of espresso machines and muffled chatter offered some comfort. But as he waited, his mind spiraled into the worries of everything yet to be discussed. He had witnessed a glimpse of those chaotic shadows, and they now taunted him with uncertainty. When Sarah walked in, her demeanor appeared equally weighed down. She had tried to present herself in a composed manner, stylishly dressed with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. But John noticed her fidgeting fingers and the way her gaze flickered nervously around the room. "Thanks for meeting me," she said as she slid into the seat opposite him. Her voice held a slight tremor, revealing the fragility of the moment. "Of course. I think it's important we talk," John replied, trying to keep his tone neutral despite the torrent of emotions swirling within him. "You mentioned we needed to discuss things," she began cautiously. "I know our last outing was complicated, but I need you to understand that I really want to rebuild everything." "I'm glad to hear that, but rebuilding trust isn't something you can just say. It requires a lot of work," John countered, his voice steady, but layered with a mixture of concern and determination. "You need to commit to doing what's right, not just for yourself, but for your children." "I know. I've been actively working to remove toxic influences from my life," Sarah stated, her gaze firming as she locked eyes with him. "But I need your help in this. I want to be a good mother. More than anything, I want to be there for them." John softened slightly, knowing she was trying, yet the remnants of their painful past whispered doubts. "We both know your relationship with Jason was a significant part of your life, and having him show up like that, well, it sent me into a protective frenzy. I can't allow any instability to seep back in." "I understand," Sarah said, her voice almost pleading. "I want you to know that he's someone I've cut ties with. I didn't expect him to be there. It's over, I promise. I've been focused on moving forward since the divorce." Clarifying their boundaries became the focus of their conversation, and John found his nervousness ebbing away as they spoke openly. He listened to her articulate her desire to improve her parenting and amend the fractures in their familial ties. At times, they veered into familiar territory, laughter and shared memories resurfacing, testing the wall he had erected around his emotions. "Maybe we can implement some schedules that work for the kids. Include consistent check-ins, to discuss their needs as they navigate this transition," John suggested, feeling as though they were slowly picking up the pieces of what had been shattered. "That sounds reasonable," Sarah replied, visibly relieved. "I want to be a reliable presence in their lives, whatever it takes." "Does Lisa feel comfortable with these arrangements?" John thought of Lisa, her unwavering support constantly nudging him toward the right path. "Yes, she does. As long as we all remain transparent and committed to the children, I believe it can work," he said. "But we have to make an active commitment, Sarah. No more surprises." The air between them shifted slightly, charged with the hope that perhaps they could form a cooperative arrangement that prioritized the children. The resolve set between them marked the beginnings of a fragile truce, one layered with mutual understanding and a focus on their children's happiness. As they prepared to leave, Sarah's expression softened, tinged with vulnerability and sincerity. "Thank you, John. I want this to work. I know I've hurt you, but I am genuinely trying to make things better," she said, pausing as if searching for the right words. "And I truly hope you can trust me again." John offered a small nod, the bittersweet blend of hope and caution swelling in his chest. "Trust takes time, Sarah. Let's just focus on consistent follow-through for now." The conversation marked a turning point, allowing Sarah to take tentative steps toward building a bridge that would reconnect her with her children and permit John to become a more relaxed co-parent. Over the subsequent weeks, they exchanged messages, arranged appointments, and navigated this evolving relationship. For the first time in a long time, John felt cautiously optimistic. However, Just as Sarah began to regain a place in their lives, the past clawed back unexpectedly. One evening, as John and Lisa prepared dinner, the phone rang, its shrill tone cutting into their tranquil evening. John picked it up and instantly recognized Sarah's number, a flutter of unease gripping his heart. When he answered, Sarah's voice cracked through the line. "John, I need to tell you something, and it's important," she said, her tone urgent, tinged with panic. "What is it?" John asked, heart racing as he braced himself for trouble. "It's about Jason. He's been texting me, trying to get back into my life." Sarah surged forward, anxiety pouring through her words. "I didn't want to involve you in this mess, but I thought you should know." The information hit John like a tidal wave, unsettling and relentless. Every ounce of hope he had built teetered dangerously at the edge of collapse. "What does he want?" he asked, already sensing how deeply tangled this past would threaten the present. Just that he missed me. That he wanted to hang out again," Sarah responded, nearly breathless. "But I didn't respond. I promise. I want nothing to do with him. I don't want that chaos back in my life." John felt the familiar weight of anger and anxiety pushing against his resolve. "You need to block him. Set those boundaries firmly. I thought we moved past this. If he's reached out once, he's likely to keep at it. Your commitment to doing what's best for the kids means having zero tolerance for anything that rocks this family. I will block him, I promise. I'm just scared he's persistent," she sighed, her voice quaking with emotion. "I wish I could just erase the past." The challenge of moving forward became alarmingly clear, yet John's protective instincts surged. He needed to act now, reach out proactively, and establish boundaries that would limit the impact of Jason's presence on their growing family. "Meet me tomorrow," he said, determination surging in his voice. "I want to formulate a plan together. We can't let your past hinder this progress." The next morning, John found himself anxiously flipping through his notes on the cafe table. Moments before meeting Sarah, he wanted to highlight their goals and set urgent, clear boundaries. When Sarah arrived, visibly stressed and fraught with anxiety, John felt a pang of concern. "John, I don't want to bring this chaos to you." "I'm trying to get my life together," she protested, squaring her shoulders. "I know. I want that for you too, but we have to tackle this head on," John replied firmly. "This isn't just about the two of us. We have to consider the kids. For their happiness, we need to take decisive steps to protect our family." As they delved into conversation, John suggested drafting a unified approach, creating a co-parenting agreement, outlining each of their roles, expectations, and consequences for breaking those boundaries. "Let's document everything," he emphasized. "This way we can refer back to it whenever there are uncertainties or conflicts." Sarah nodded, recognizing the merit in that idea. Together, they drafted a list of roles, emphasizing open communication, setting rules regarding negative influences, and employing clear consequences for failure to respect those guidelines. Throughout their discussions, John noticed a shift in Sarah. Behind her facade was a growing resolve, a steady willingness to take control of her life. It filled him not only with hope, but with a deep-seated desire to help her overcome the hurdles that remained in their way. As they continued their brainstorming, John sensed something seminal taking root between them, a relationship architected on mutual respect for the first time, grounded in a desire to prioritize their family's well-being. Finally, as they wrapped things up, John's heart felt lighter. "We've had a rough start, but let's commit to moving forward," he said, locking eyes with her. "Together." Sarah met his gaze, visibly rejuvenated by their discussions. "Thank you for believing in me, John. I really appreciate you working with me on this. I'm making an effort to turn things around." As they finished their meeting, a profound sense of understanding emerged, a momentum that might enable them to navigate any hurdles that Sarah's past might impose on their merging families. Walking out of that cafe, John felt a surge of hope and determination. They were embarking on a tumultuous journey together, but for the first time, he was confident they could foster a space where their children would feel secure, loved, and potentially open avenues for healing and renewal. In the weeks that followed their meeting, Sarah's proactive behaviors commenced a gradual but significant transformation. She effectively blocked Jason from her life, avoiding his advances and cementing herself within her role as an engaged mother. John noticed this progress, feeling reassured by her attentiveness toward their children and her spoken commitment to healing. And though the past still lingered like a shadow, she appeared ready to reconcile with it boldly, allowing the light of a brighter future to shine through. As John continued to reinforce the boundaries they'd established, the growth of trust between them blossomed. Though it was a complicated dance, moving forward while still acknowledging pain, he felt confident in their growing partnership. Weeks turned to months, and with each encounter, John embraced both the challenges and triumphs of co-parenting, alongside Sarah and nurturing the burgeoning relationship with Lisa. Each day unfolded like a new page in the story they were weaving together. Through joint outings, school events, and family gatherings, John found himself enveloped in a sense of purpose, illuminated by the laughter of his children and the warmth of Lisa's presence. They were building a foundation that may have started scarred, but now thrived on love, adaptability, and resilience. One evening, as they snuggled on the couch watching a family movie, John realized he was finally free from the weight of betrayal that had once chained him down. The laughter of the children, the soft, comforting presence of Lisa beside him, filled the emptiness with something new, joy, harmony, and an unwavering conviction that they were indeed all navigating forward together, hand in hand. That moment crystallized into clarity as he felt the warmth wrap around him. Healing transcended the past, stitching fresh starts with new memories that promised to last. John had long since learned that rebuilding a life filled with love and laughter meant embracing each moment, no matter how scattered the pieces might have once felt. The enormity of their journey did not escape him. The road had been windy and fraught with hurdles. Yet it was only through confronting those challenges together that they had grown stronger. It had been a laborious, yet transformative process, blended by the enduring bonds of trust and the bravery to embrace the unknown. Under the soft glow of the television, surrounded by love, John smiled radiantly, relishing the profound truth. They were creating a home alive with hope, offering a sanctuary for everyone to flourish, and no past echoes of betrayal could dim the brightness of the life he was now building, as every day unfolded with new possibilities, charted by love, healing, and a commitment to a future filled with promise. As the seasons changed, John found that building a new life with Lisa required ongoing communication and commitment. Their families were growing closer, cementing bonds that were rich in love and support. Yet the journey was still laced with complexities that required continuous navigation, especially with Sarah's past lingering in the wings. One gray evening, as the leaves swirled outside, John sat with Lisa at their kitchen table, going through a calendar filled with school events, the children's extracurricular activities, and holiday gatherings. "This is great," Lisa exclaimed, smiling as she pointed to all the planned activities. "I love how involved we are becoming as a blended family. It feels right to celebrate the holidays together." John nodded, sharing her excitement, but feeling a persistent knot of worry in the pit of his stomach. "I agree. I just hope Sarah can keep up her commitment. I still feel nervous about her past resurfacing." He ran a hand through his hair, the tension of his concerns weighing heavily on his mind. "You've worked hard to establish boundaries, John. Just remember, you both agreed to communicate openly," Lisa reassured him with a gentle smile, her eyes shining with understanding. "You're doing all you can to protect the kids and keep things steady." "You're right," John said, drawing in a breath. "It's just that sometimes uncertainty creeps in, no matter how hard I try to stay focused." The conversation shifted back toward planning as Lisa detailed a fun family outing they had organized for the upcoming long weekend, a trip to an amusement park. The anticipation of the day ahead brought a spark of joy to John, reminding him of the happiness that had blossomed throughout this new life. Still, as the days moved forward, John couldn't help but feel that the careful equilibrium they had worked to achieve would be tested. That sense came to fruition when, during their family outing, John caught a glimpse of Sarah waiting at the entrance of the amusement park with her two children, Max and Maya. John's heart sank. He hadn't known she would be attending the same event. He had assumed the trip would exclusively feature their new family. "Hey, Sarah!" John called out tentatively as he approached her, maintaining a smile despite the sudden anxiety washing over him. "I didn't realize you'd be here." "Hi. I thought I'd take the kids to enjoy the rides. I hope it's okay," Sarah said, exhibiting her characteristic engagement. But John couldn't help but notice the tension that hung in the air. "Of course, but I just wasn't expecting it," John replied, his protective instincts flaring. He quickly turned to signal Lisa, who walked over with the kids, her warm smile softening the moment. Lisa greeted Sarah with friendly professionalism, trying her best to maintain a welcoming atmosphere despite the undercurrents swirling beneath the surface. The kids exchanged excited greetings, the previous tension expanding into the collective excitement of the outing. As they entered the park together, John felt a weight hanging in the air, a mixture of optimism and fear as the families forged ahead. Being in such close proximity meant navigating Sarah's past alongside building mutual experiences within a shared environment. While rides roared and laughter filled the air, John's heart still raced, cognizant of how fragile their newly forged relationships remained. During a break for lunch, while John observed from their table, he noticed the way Sarah engaged with Max and Maya, asking questions and weaving stories, igniting their laughter. He couldn't deny that she was devoted to nurturing her relationship with them, yet the ache of worry twined through him as connotations of her past resurfaced. After lunch, the children clamored for more rides, and John quietly broached the subject with Lisa. "As we merge these families, we need to keep an eye on how Sarah behaves. I don't want her past influences unwinding everything we've built." Lisa nodded, her expression serious. "I understand. Let's be vigilant, but also give her the chance to shine positively today." It's about nurturing the relationships with the kids. The afternoon rolled on, sunny skies stretching above them as the children enjoyed roller coasters and carnival games. Amidst the swirling exhilaration and laughter, John's heart began to soften. Perhaps it was possible to navigate through the uncertainty while still allowing the children to experience the joy of their shared family. By the time they reached the final ride of the day, a giant Ferris wheel looming brightly against the blue sky, a sense of camaraderie blossomed among all of them. Sarah suggested taking a group photo at the wheel's summit, a chance to capture their unified smiles. John felt hesitant at first, pondering whether that fleeting moment could unravel the threads of vulnerability he had forged. Yet, as they gathered together, he could see the joy reflected in the kids' faces, and he found that he couldn't deny them a moment of happiness. With the camera click, John saw the happiness captured in the frame, two families joyfully melding together, hopeful and bright-eyed. The picture represented the strides they were making, paving a new reality forward. As they disbanded after the outing, while they said their goodbyes, John caught a glimpse of Sarah's vulnerability once more. "Thanks for including me today. I really enjoyed seeing the kids have fun together," she admitted, her sincerity igniting a flicker of understanding between them. "It's important for them to have memories. Just know we'll always be watching out for them. Their well-being comes first," John replied, embracing a newfound resolve. After the amusement park, John realized that it was essential to keep moving forward. While they faced challenges, the expedition, a blend of hope, laughter, and new beginnings, held the promise of joy ahead. Back home, dusk settled in as they gathered around the table for dinner, laughter echoing through the room. Their family dynamic, woven from love and persistence, had slowly morphed into something beautiful and entirely new. John felt a warmth envelop him, finally beginning to embrace the truth he had long avoided. They had forged an inviting home filled with compassion and care. Later that evening, as the children scampered off to bed, John took a moment to find Lisa and sit with her. "Today was unexpected," he began, his voice low, reflecting on the twists and turns they had encountered. I couldn't help but feel worried when I saw Sarah. But I'm glad we managed to navigate the day together. Lisa leaned in closer, her eyes reassuring. You did well. The fact that we're working hard to build our new family speaks volumes about our commitment to each other and the kids. Every moment taken toward healing creates a foundation for the future. With their hands entwined, John felt a surge of gratitude flow through him. The conversations they had while continuing to build and adapt their transient family guidelines had been encouraging. They were navigating uncertain waters, but creating stronger bonds. In the quiet moments that followed, John reflected on everything: Sarah's past indiscretions, the uncertainty that had long haunted him, and the joy of uniting two families. But he also remembered how far he had come, hand in hand with Lisa. Together, they were a force that could weather any storm. Together, they could embrace both their blended family's joys and struggles, building their future with love and strength. As they settled into bed, John felt a sense of peace wash over him. Tomorrow brought new opportunities for family adventures, laughter, and growing closer, reaffirming the commitment they had made to one another. In the end, trust and love would guide their lives forward, no longer burdened by the shadows of the past, but uplifted by the promise of brighter days ahead. The weeks following their outing at the amusement park witnessed the gradual weaving together of moments, shared experiences, laughter, and the forging of new traditions. John found himself hopeful for the future, where the weight of past failures was momentarily eclipsed by the vibrant colors of the present. One weekend, as autumn painted the trees in hues of crimson and gold, John arranged a family camping trip, a first for the newly blended family. John had fond memories of camping as a child, nestled around the fire, storytelling under the stars, and he wanted to create similar memories for his kids. He envisioned nights spent laughing, sharing tales, and bonding away from the confines of their daily lives. On Friday evening, they packed up the car, excitement buzzing in the air. The children contributed animatedly, stuffing bags, sorting through their gear, and debating which games they would play at the campsite. Sarah's presence in the planning felt more reassuring as her enthusiasm matched their eagerness. Are we going to roast marshmallows? Maya chirped, her eyes bright with anticipation. Absolutely. They're a camping necessity, John replied, grinning as he handed her a bag filled with snacks. As they set off on Saturday morning, the crisp air greeted them, accompanied by an unmistakable sense of adventure. John's heart raced slightly, filled with a mix of excitement and a hint of anxiety. He knew this trip could serve as a vital opportunity for their families to connect deeply and appreciate the love that had burgeoned between them. Upon arrival at the campsite, John led the way, pointing out various sights along the trail as the children scurried alongside him. The sound of rustling leaves and carefree laughter created a sense of unity within the group, and for a moment, John felt himself enveloped in joy as they began to pull together their temporary home. As they set up the tents, Sarah proved herself an able partner, demonstrating teamwork as they collaborated to ensure everyone had their space. The ease that had developed between them over their previous encounters set the tone for the trip ahead. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow across the campsite, they gathered around the fire. Firelight flickered against their faces, illuminating soft smiles amidst the shadows. John inspected the marshmallows, squeamishly roasting them until they turned golden brown, just as he remembered from his childhood. Perfectly toasted, he declared, handing one to each eager child. The sugary, gooey marshmallows melted in their mouths, sparking delighted laughter. Our family is officially starting to feel like an adventure, Max exclaimed, looking around at the fire, his face alight with excitement. John felt pride swell within him as each child became more comfortable around the warmth of the fire, sharing stories that pulled them closer to each other's lives. The simple act of gathering around, trading tales of bravery, and laughing together cemented the understanding that this new family was finding its voice. After several stories, John turned to Sarah. "Why don't you share a story from your camping days?" he asked, inviting her to open up about her past in a way that brought the experience full circle. "Oh, goodness, I can't think of anything," she replied, an uncertain smile on her face. Yet, as John gave her an encouraging nod, she launched into a tale of a childhood camping trip gone hilariously wrong, complete with misadventures that ended in laughter. The children erupted in giggles at every mishap, and John felt a connection strengthening around the fire. Sarah's anecdotes revealed more about her, helping him see her in a different light. She was willing to bring humor into the situation, embracing vulnerability while drawing the kids closer. As the evening wore on, John watched the stars emerge, a blanket of glittering gems adorning the sky. "You know," he said, "we should do this more often. We're building something special together, a shared legacy for our families." The kids, mouthfuls of marshmallows still lingering, echoed their agreement with animated nods. As the flames dwindled, John's heart felt full. This camping trip embodied the essence of their adventure. Every moment spent together, weaving their stories into a new tapestry, the world that held both uncertainties and beautiful possibilities. The next morning, John awoke early, drawn out of his tent by the soft morning light filtering through the trees. He wandered over to the lake, which glimmered under the soft sunlight. The peace of the moment enveloped him, and he took a deep breath, savoring the tranquility. After a while, he heard the shuffling of footsteps through the leaves behind him. Sarah joined him on the shore, the quiet atmosphere around them dotted with buzz from the waking woods. "It's beautiful here in the morning, isn't it?" she remarked softly, gazing at the calm water. "It really is," John said, finding himself nodding in agreement. He was pleasantly surprised at how easy it was to speak with her in this intimate setting. "I always felt that mornings here had a way of setting the tone for the day." "And what's the tone you want to set?" she asked, her eyes glimmering with intrigue. John pondered. "A day filled with laughter, adventure, and moments where we all come together to enjoy this family we're building. We have to embrace everything together." They spent the morning prepping breakfast and enjoying each other's company, the camaraderie growing as they prepared for the day's activities. After breakfast, plans shifted toward a nature hike, a chance to explore further and enjoy the beauty around them. With Max leading the way, eager to spot wildlife, and Maya exploring the trails with curiosity, the energy burst forth with excitement, while John and Sarah exchanged occasional smiles and glances, the kind that shared unspoken understanding. As they trekked through the forest, John felt an overwhelming warmth filling his heart. This was what blended families could be: joyful, loving, and filled with laughter rather than tension. He saw the kids running ahead, Marco and Maya hand in hand, and realized they truly were building a foundation for their unified story. During the hike, Sarah ventured beside John, moving slightly closer. "I appreciate this, John. I know we've had our battles, but it's moments like this that show we can make it work," she said, her tone sincere. "I want to be a good co-parent, for them and for you." John felt a mix of relief and hope. "We are doing this together, and I know it won't be perfect. But today proves that as long as we keep our focus on what matters, we can turn those challenges into something wonderful." The support they'd shown each other in their collaboration during the trip invigorated him. It was the first trip where the past felt neither a burden nor a distraction, but rather an opportunity for fresh beginnings. After hours of exploring, they returned to the campsite, laughter ringing through the air. The day had been filled with adventures, an affirmation that this family could thrive despite the uncertainties. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky in farewell hues, John took a moment to reflect. He felt a sense of peace flow through him, a quiet resolve affirming their decisions and the paths they had chosen. "Hey," he said, gathering everyone around the fire as dusk settled over the campsite. "Let's end this day with one last round of stories. Each of us can share something we're grateful for." The request sparked enthusiasm, inspiring the children to chatter excitedly, each eager to contribute. Yet, as it reached Sarah, John sensed the heightened significance behind the moment. She began to share the story of how she had been fearful of embarking on this journey of blending their families but realized how thankful she was for the chance to create new memories together. Tears of gratitude welled in her eyes as she continued, reflecting on the challenges they had faced and the connection she had started to build anew. John could feel the emotional weight in the air, a solemn understanding settling over everyone around the fire. It hasn't been easy, but I've learned how precious each connection is, how important every moment of joy can be. I'm grateful to be here with all of you, she said, her voice cracking slightly, yet filled with sincerity. The emotional gift she offered filled the space with warmth. John took a deep breath, his heart swelling with renewed hope. They all needed that acknowledgement of vulnerability to solidify the relationships being built. As the fire flickered and danced, John realized they were truly constructing a new legacy, built not on the ashes of the past, but rather on the campfire of love, compassion, and understanding. A blending of lives that might just weather any storm. Together, they had discovered strength in each other, and moments like this affirmed that the road ahead was not just bearable, it was beautiful, rich with opportunity. When the stories concluded and laughter faded into a comfortable quiet, John felt a deep sense of gratitude for everything that had led him here, a moment where connections fused, turning plans and dreams into living memories. Finding unity could, at times, feel elusive, but as they stared at the stars above, he knew they were traversing a path paved with love and resilience. That night, as John nestled into his sleeping bag, surrounded by the warmth of shared adventures, he smiled at the realization. They were no longer just two families trying to coexist. They were a beautifully woven tapestry of life, love, and the promise of tomorrow, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. His heart, once heavy, now felt light, and he drifted off to sleep peacefully, dreaming of the days yet to come. The next morning dawned clear and bright, the sun breaking through the trees as John stirred awake to the sound of laughter filtering through the forest. He unzipped his tent and stepped outside, breathing in the crisp, clean air. The campsite was already alive with activity. The children were running around excitedly, laughing and playing games as the aroma of breakfast wafted through the air. John felt a swell of pride as he watched Max and Maya leading the charge, engaging Sarah's children with unfiltered joy. A beautiful sight that underscored the sense of family they had worked so hard to create. Floating between two tents, John moved to help Lisa prepare breakfast, accepting her offer to flip pancakes on the camp stove alongside the giggling children. "Morning," Lisa greeted him cheerfully, her smile brightening the morning. "Ready to fuel the little adventurers before we head out for another day of exploration?" "Absolutely. They're up and ready for more adventures," John replied, glancing at the kids energetically firing up their imaginations as they bantered around the campfire. Once breakfast was served, they all gathered around the table, joyfully digging into the warm pancakes with syrup. Sarah took this opportunity to engage everyone in lighthearted conversation, her demeanor reflective of the positive energy that surrounded them. "I was thinking," she said, her voice animated as she looked around the group. "After breakfast, we could visit that nearby nature trail. I heard there's a hidden waterfall. The kids could have a great time exploring." Max's eyes widened in excitement. "A waterfall? Can we swim in it?" "If it's safe to do so," Sarah replied, her enthusiasm infectious. John watched as the children reacted to Sarah's excitement, each of them buzzing with energy and anticipation. After breakfast, they packed their gear and set out for the trail. As they hiked deeper into the woods, surrounded by the vibrant fall colors and the earthy scent of pine needles, John felt an overwhelming sense of unity among them. Their shared laughter echoed through the towering trees, a palpable sense of adventure surging as they navigated the winding path together. Max and Maya led the way, darting ahead with enthusiasm, while Sarah and Lisa engaged in lighthearted conversation. John walked behind, feeling a sense of tranquility wash over him. The quirks and eccentricities of their families had started swaying toward a rhythm that felt increasingly natural. When they finally arrived at the waterfall, John's heart soared. It cascaded down smooth rocks, splashing into a shallow pool below, a picturesque scene begging to be explored. The children jumped up and down with excitement, urging the adults to join them. "Can we get in?" Maya asked, her eyes shining with joy. As they assessed the water, John noticed how inviting it seemed. If it's not too cold and it's safe, I don't see why not. The children squealed with glee, shedding shoes and socks in a hurry, eager to splash around in the crystal clear water. John and Sarah exchanged amused glances, both caught up in the infectious energy of the moment. Before long, laughter filled the air as the children made a game of trying to catch droplets on their hands, playfully slipping in and out of the water. John took a step back to watch, marveling at how effortlessly familial bonds were forming, knitting the fabric of their lives together. When Max slipped and tumbled into the shallows, surprise sparking in his eyes, John rushed forward. "You okay, buddy?" he asked, laughing along with the other kids, as Max soon joined in on the laughter, soaked but happy. After some splashing, everyone took a moment to catch their breath on the rocks beside the waterfall. It was the perfect spot for a family photo, and John felt a rush of excitement at the prospect of capturing these cherished memories together. "Hey, let's take a picture," he suggested, grabbing his phone out of his pocket. Everyone scrambled to position themselves, water glistening on their skin. "Say cheese," John called, grinning from ear to ear as the camera flashed, capturing the moment forever. Just then, Sarah chimed in, "This is the beginning of so many memories, isn't it? I'll never take this for granted. It's incredible how we can enjoy these moments as a family now." The day wore on, filled with carefree laughter, lighthearted play, and shared experiences. As they hiked back to the campsite, John contemplated how far they had come, navigating the complexity of their new family. It filled him with gratitude and hope, affirming once again that they could triumph over past missteps. As night fell, they gathered around the campfire for dinner, each contributing to the meal. John expertly grilled hot dogs, while the kids roasted marshmallows, the scent of smoke curling up into the night. In the backdrop, the stars began to twinkle above, casting a magical glow over the campsite. During dinner, the atmosphere transformed into a moment of reflection. Sarah shared an empowering story about overcoming struggles as a single mother. "This journey hasn't been easy, especially when I was uncertain about how to create a stable home life for the kids. But seeing them grow close to all of you makes every effort worth it." The candor in her words resonated deeply with John, who admired her vulnerability, knowing how far she had come. "We're all navigating this together, and it's only going to get better for everyone," he assured her, appreciating how understanding had woven its way into their conversations. "That's what this journey has taught me," Sarah continued. "Family isn't always about blood. It's about connections, care, and commitment." As laughter echoed and stories mingled with the crackling of the fire, John felt a significant shift in the air. The distance that had once existed began to shrink. Their past battles were becoming a thing of memory as the bonds deepened. After dinner, as the kids dozed off, John found himself seated beside Lisa, staring into the glowing embers of the fire. "I'm grateful for what's happening here," he said softly, glancing over at her. "Even with the challenges." Lisa leaned closer, offering a gentle smile. "You've built something remarkable here, John. Every step you took to embrace this journey has created a safe space, not just for you, but for Sarah and the kids. The connection you're all forming is beautiful." As the fire continued to crackle, they entwined their fingers, the warmth of each other's presence soothing. "I hope we can remain strong and continue this momentum," John expressed, hopeful yet cautious. "I still worry about Sarah's past, pulling her back into chaos." "We're in this together," Lisa reiterated. "We can support her in moving forward, while also prioritizing our family. Trust takes time, but I believe we can create a stable environment." Nodding in agreement, John felt his heart steady. What they were building, this newfound love, the encouragement offered by Lisa, the interconnectedness among them, represented a promise. It was a testament to the resilience of family and the potential for healing. As the glimmer of the stars above mirrored the glowing embers below, John sat surrounded by warmth. Where past fails were giving way to expansive hope. Here, in this moment, he understood that life would never be perfect, but with love, patience, and understanding, his life had transformed into something truly remarkable. With the flicker of the fire and the whisper of the night, he surrendered to the joy of the present, ready to embrace every chapter the future held, firm in the belief that joy could always emerge from the most unlikely places.